When you're hunting for a gaming laptop, you're not really after a glossy spec sheet, you want something that will actually sit on your desk or lap, stay cool during marathon sessions, and be worth the cash you're about to spend. That hesitation dash, will this thing actually run the games I love without frying my hands or my wallet? Is what drives most buyers to research for hours before clicking add to cart. The ASUS ROG Strix G16, 2025, tries to answer those questions head-on. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the everyday reality of a 16-inch, 2.5K, 240Hz display. For most gamers, a high refresh rate is only useful if you can actually see the difference in fast-paced shooters or competitive MOBAs. In my testing, the 240Hz panel did feel noticeably smoother when I dropped into Valorant and Warzone, especially in those split-second headshot moments. The 3 milliseconds response time helped cut down ghosting, but you'll notice that the benefit tapers off if you're playing slower-paced RPGs or sandbox titles where frame rate caps are already low. So if you're the type who lives for competitive play, that high refresh screen is a genuine advantage. If you're more of a story-driven gamer who watches cutscenes for hours, you might find the extra pixels and speed more of a marketing perk than a daily need. Now, performance is where the G16 stakes its claim. The laptop ships with an Intel Core i9-HX processor paired with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5070 Ti. On paper, that combo should blitz most titles at 1080p with ease, and that's exactly what happens. In a typical AAA workload like Cyberpunk 2077 at medium-high settings, the card held an average of 85 frames per second, and it didn't dip below 60 frames per second even when I pushed a few visual effects higher. That kind of consistency is what keeps a gaming laptop from feeling like a borrowed desktop that's constantly throttling. The 32GB of DDR5 RAM and a 1TB NVMe drive also mean you won't be swapping memory or waiting for textures to load, something that many budget or mid-range laptops still struggle with. One of the hidden trade-offs isn't in the numbers but in the cooling system. ASUS markets the ROG Intelligent Cooling as next generation, and the real-world test shows it does keep temperatures under control, but you'll feel a bit of fan noise once you push the GPU past 80% load. The fans spin up to a noticeable whir, which isn't a problem if you're in a noisy room, but could be a distraction if you're gaming late at night in a quiet apartment. The cooling does work. The CPU stayed around 78°C under full stress, which is respectable for a fine and light chassis. It's just something to be aware of if you plan on using a headset with its own mic. Make sure the mic isn't right next to the fan vent or you'll pick up extra hiss. The ROG Nebula display isn't just about refresh rate. The 16:10 aspect ratio gives you a little extra vertical real estate compared to the usual 16:9 laptops. That extra line of pixels can be a subtle but pleasant boost in productivity software, letting you see more of a spreadsheet or code editor while you game. The HDR implementation is decent, colors pop in titles that support HDR10, but the peak brightness caps at around 350 nits, so it won't quite rival a dedicated desktop monitor for HDR content. Still, for a portable device, the visual experience feels immersive enough that you won't be tempted to carry an external monitor just for movies or streaming. Who should buy this machine? If you are a serious gamer who wants a single device that can handle competitive shooters, modern AAA titles, and still serve as a decent workstation for content creation, the G16 hits the sweet spot. The 32GB of RAM is already overkill for most games, but it gives you headroom for video editing, 3D rendering, or running multiple VMs without sacrificing performance. The 1TB SSD provides ample room for a growing library of games and large creative files, so you won't be forced to constantly prune your storage. That combination of power and storage makes it a good fit for streamers who need to run OBS alongside their games. On the flip side, if you are a gamer on a tight budget, or you primarily play lighter titles like indie games, Minecraft, or older esports titles, you'll be paying for performance you don't fully utilize. A laptop with an RTX 4060 or even a high-end RTX 4050 might slice a few $100s off the price while still delivering a flawless experience for those games. Likewise, if you travel a lot and need ultra-lightweight gear, the G16, while relatively thin, still weighs close to 2.7 kilograms and has a chassis that feels a bit bulkier than ultra-portable alternatives. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting that the extra performance comes with a little extra heft. Let's talk value beyond the headline numbers. The price point reflects the high-end components, the ROG branding, and the glossy RGB light bar that runs across the rear of the chassis. That light bar can be customized.